love Kyrie. You gotta love Kyrie. I'm back to 100% or close to it. And there's nothing like re-entering the stratosphere. Talking about my man Kai. You gotta love Kyrie, man. Your man is a full podcast and everybody want to be in on the conversation. Because it's the cool thing to do now. It's easy to talk about it, harder to play. Right? So now he's out for the rest of the season or what have you. He's fresh off the Net. He's seen how it works. He's trying to get in on the gamut. You feel me? He got headphones and all. This nigga got the headphones, the micro. You really don't need. I haven't used headphones yet. I go off for, the EQ or the vocals. You know what it is. Once I get in the booth, it's the truth. Your man got the headphones on and that he's sold. He looks like a 23-year-old podcaster, fresh on YouTube Live. Forgetting that he's an NBA ball player, got all the accolades and the paper and the life, the whole thing, right? Now he's delving into the conversation portion of it. And he's still on his soapbox like he's holier than thou. That's what bothers me. Because he from the, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The family from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. I know now he got a little bit of paper. I hate when dudes get a little and they just, you'll be like, nigga, what? All right. Now it's all right. It's the crossover. And this is the crossover, Kyrie. And he's caping for these young players so hard. He's picked his side. He wants to be Captain Save-A-Ho for the young players. Not knowing that they don't need you to save them, Kyrie. You used to be them. You didn't want to hear shit either, remember? You thought you were better than LeBron and he got you a championship. Remember, when you lead a team, they're a bubble team. They're a outside looking in team. You have not had a team of your own that was seriously relevant. Ever. Where you was the man, never. They go right back to 9th place. That's exactly where you've always been. At one point, you was below that. You was the lottery with you as the face. And LeBron comes, saves the day. Now you think you better than him. Like, don't get over here acting like your story ain't your story, right? So now his point is we're critical of these young players because they're rich. And when he says you, it's us as fans and the YouTube and the podcasting community of NBA ex-players. And he's like, I'm going to address everybody when I see everybody. Nigga, who you? Man, if you don't get... See, when niggas get that afro and throw the black leather on, they think they shaft. He doing too much. All you got to do is accept... You know the game. It's the business of basketball. It's the sanctity of basketball. It's the entertainment portion of basketball. All these things have to coexist, right? And we get it. We understand it. The business right now is trumping everything. Everybody's trying to save themselves. We get it. We understand that. But for him to point out, we're just critical and jealous because they're rich. Every NBA generation has benefited from the last NBA generation. So the generation that put the work in and set the new foundation for the young guys to come in, of course, they're going to be a lot more frustrated than I am as a fan because they put bricks in that building. They're part of building the foundation that you stand on to get more monies, have more liberties and more freedoms and more understanding. And no, you're right. You're not a robot. We get it. We're not expecting you to be robotic and all the same, but we're expecting greatness. We're expecting the pursuit. We're expecting certain competitive portions of the game to still exist within the business of it because business is competitive. There shouldn't be so much passivity, and we get it. The generations after certain generations have been, they look like the same animal, but they're domesticated. There's a difference between a lion being in the zoo and a lion in the wild. The two hungers are different. The two roars are different. One roar is the I'm hungry roar, which is in the zoo. They roar, they get brought food at a certain time, they know what it is. Their hunger is minimal. When you're in the wild, you have to be hungry and hunt while you're hungry and chase down while you're hungry. At your weakest, you have to hunt. When you're starving, it's not the same animal. It's not the same competitiveness. It's not the same drive. We're used to a certain level of competitiveness as fans. So we're critiquing it and looking at it like that's not, you want us to get the same high off of less drug. If you're saying basketball is a drug, and we get high off the entertainment, off the storylines, off our ability to connect our lives to that which we are watching. And it gives us this euphoria, and it makes us feel good about our situation and makes our life livable. And we can take on our challenges because we're seeing someone else take on challenges and accept it. You know what I mean? We're not feeding off of it now. There's no way we can feed off what we're watching. It's processed food now. It's not healthy. It's cancerous, so to speak. And so when you see people become critical and frustrated, part of it is it may be some jealousy when it comes to ex-players because they're not reaping the benefits of their work. And they didn't work as hard as they should have. And there's a lot of regret there. We get it. We all have those. We live with those regrets as people. It's just what it is. But for you to say it's something so simplified as we're jealous because they're rich and we're critical because they're rich, that's asinine. Because the reality is, if we're watching something, we should be able to be objective and honest with our assessment of what we see based off of the information that we have and our understanding that we have. The conversation is cool. Like you trying to tell us not to be upset and we're hating because we're critical. No, we're hating because we're seeing something that doesn't look like what we're used to having as basketball. This is something you're trying to tell me to treat a C student like an A student, to treat mediocrity like greatness, to grade with a super curve. We can't do that. Either you're that good or you're not. Every player now that we see is kind of cookie cutter. They look the same, they play the same, they dribble the same, they shoot the same. It's the same shit. Until LeBron and them leaves, we're not going to see the competition again because it's going to be a clean slate and everybody's going to have to fight for relevancy. LeBron kept the lights on for 20 years. He kept it interesting. His storyline carried the league. So we're not interested in a lot of people because one story and one narrative has been pushed and it fed the other narratives because they all were trying to compete against him to dethrone him or for the title. There's not a lot of competition now in the form of what we're used to seeing in preparation, in pursuit. It lacks the aggression and the passion that it once had because these kids are different. It's a totally different situation. Like we can't continue to treat it as if it's the same old great NBA we used to watch. It's not. It's pacified. As parents, we've done great jobs at raising our kids, but we kind of take the dog out of them because we shield them from certain aspects of life that are harsh and real. And you can tell a lot of these kids are coming in shielded from the real world. So they have their own perspective of what hard work is because the work that they put in has been said to be enough. Then you get to the league and it's not enough. And teams have their own agenda. And players have their own agenda. And coaches have their own agenda. And you as a player have to take a back seat to all of that, especially coming into the league. But we can't critique that. We can't speak to the truth of that because then we'll be haters because the truth is these punk ass motherfuckers is trying to dictate the narrative. LeBron is trying to dictate the narrative with Stephen A. And now you have these podcasters trying to dictate the narrative. And now you have Kyrie. You can't tell us what the fuck to say. You can't tell us who the fuck to be. We're the fans. If we're coming in and the product ain't popping like it used to pop, we should be able to say whatever we want. We're trying to figure out why it's not the same and how do we get that old feeling back. You telling us, nah, they just hating. The young players don't want to be like y'all anyway. They don't look up to none of y'all. What Draymond tell poor Pierce? They don't love you like that. These little niggas don't love y'all like that. They waiting for y'all to get up out the way so they can get back to getting to it. They don't look at you like that. Over here trying to save somebody. They know what it is. They waiting for y'all to skedaddle so they can get to work. Y'all in the way. They've been critiqued and they want us to do what we do. They love it. They grew up in it. They know we not jealous because of their paper. Everybody getting money right now. That's why we don't look at NBA players the same, because everybody's getting paper. There's a regular dude right now that's driving the same cars y'all got, that got this, that's popping the same girls, that's living in the same communities, and he ain't a ball player. And y'all not the coolest kids on the block. There's way more fascinating people online. That if you played and they went online, guess where we're going? We'd rather watch a live stream than watch you play. But that's not jealousy, that's a choice. And it's weird that like these players be forgetting who they were when they were in the league. And from that standpoint, I get Kyrie's point. But it ain't the bag. Nobody cares about the money, because whenever you give a child millions of dollars, it's still you giving the money to a child. A fool and his money will soon depart. We're not jealous. We've seen enough 30 for 30s. We know how the story ends. It's PTSD city. You go crazy. I can't imagine being up 13, 14, 15 million, 30 million, have said to have made hundreds of millions, and now I'm on the shoestring diet or a budget. I'm living, I'm barely maintaining. After I'll go crazy. That's why guys start podcasts. Don't think they starting it because the bag is there. They're doing it for the money. Because they can talk about basketball for free. Anybody, you know what I mean? But the bag is there. But I still don't like that narrative of Kyrie saying that people are critical because they're rich. No one cares about the money. That's a talking point. Some of us like numbers. That's a talking point. Because back in the day, how much you got paid was according to the value of your game and your value as an entertainer, as a producer on the basketball court compared to your peer groups. That's what the paycheck was. It meant it was a status symbol. Now any and everybody can give a little bit of paper. And with the inflated dollar, it looks like a ridiculous amount of money when it's actually pretty much the same. But it's just a balloon. It looks bigger. But the reality is it's not. It's the same money. 3.5 million in the fucking 90s is like what, $20 million a year now. But the only thing, the player, it's not that status. Back in the day when you getting paid 3.25 million or 3.5, Michael Jordan was getting paid less than Scottie Pippen at one point with 3.25, and Scottie was getting paid 3.5. But we know Mike was being underpaid, but he never bitched about the salary. He went and got paper somewhere else, right? And that was, the best players got paid the most money. And it's still like that. But the ridiculous figures that you see now for the ancillary players and the supporting cast it looks ridiculous when in all actuality it isn't. It's the same paper. It's just inflated. They put a little steroids on it, but it still spins just as fast as that, or just as slow as what came before them. The problem really is like the value that you place on players according to the finances is like, it's lacking. A lot of these players aren't that good. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these organizations don't put them in a position to get better, realistically, because we want to see the best product, but the organizations aren't always giving them the best opportunity to be the best version of themselves. There's a lot of hoops they got to jump through. There's a lot of opportunities that they got to fight for. And then you got to have the coach that enables them to be who they are. Because, a lot of coaches, they're trying to keep their job too, because they were ex-players or coaches who got up in the ranks. They trying to cash out too. So everybody trying to cash out at the same time. And his agenda may clash with your agenda, which may clash with the ownership agenda. You know what I mean? So we get it. We get the complexities and and the different complexions of these conversations. But to make it so cut and dry, like we're just jealous because they're rich, that's juvenile. And only a Kyrie Irving would say that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little more complex than that, Kai. You know what I mean? And we know you want to be, you know, that Dalai Lama ish type person in the league, the peacemaker and the Zen of the league. But the reality is you're trying to do this at such a complex time. Like and you're not really thoroughly explaining that perspective because you're seeing it from a player who's in the league and you make it seem as if you've done no wrong, like you've never had a angst with another player. And you're making it seem like anytime someone says something about an NBA player, it has to do with their finances. No, it could be because you're making bad decisions, or you're not playing to the potential, or you're too comfortable with being mediocre and accepting the paycheck as a participation trophy. Because we got a lot of guys who don't hold themselves accountable as far as the production is concerned and enjoy being a part-time player, getting paid a pretty penny, and then expect us to treat them as if they're an A-lister or if they're a top choice or if their work is the same as the work we see the top tier players putting out. It's not the same work. It's not the same effort. It's not the same hustle. We're not getting the same experience watching most of these players play. So we're going to give them the reality according to what we experience. And we should be able to speak the truth into what we experience watching these guys play. If it's underwhelming, we should be able to say that. If it looked like shit, we should be able to say that. But if you're telling us we're jealous because of the money, that's a vain way to look at it. It's kind of corny. And that's why we speak so aggressively towards it, because it's not the same. And it's only going to get more passive unless we become more ferocious and keep and tote that line as far as fans are concerned. We have to have a sense of urgency because you got guys who don't even want to play the 65 games that they have to play to qualify for certain things. So you're telling me you want maximum pay for not only minimum effort and minimum preparation, minimum performances, and availability. They're going to end up in the Stone Age. They're going to end up with NFL type contracts that are based off of performances, not based, nothing stable, nothing given. No more 32 million a year guaranteed. You might get 6 of that, and then the other 26 is incentivized. What we're trying to do is bring forth an era of better habits and better experiences as a fan. The lack of mental toughness that we see and competition is frustrating because we don't care if our team loses. We just want it to look like a genuine competition. And we get it. There's not a lot of respect for winning. There's not a lot of respect for excellence. There's not a lot of respect for greatness. And it's because there's an overwhelming flow of excellence and greatness in all these fields, and we're aware of all of it now. We get to see it in our phones every day. So greatness and achievement and success and standing above the rest gets clouded because there's thousands of other people every day achieving greatness within their realm, advancing, and their stories are just as interesting as yours. So we're taking on all this information, so we're desensitized to certain levels of greatness and achievement. It's normalized to be great. You know how crazy that is? Like for it to be, for greatness to be normalized. And we look at it like it's normal. And we said that was a good thing. But the people who are performing these greatnesses, they want the perks and they want to be appreciated, as opposed to us saying, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what they told my generation. You get an A, you're supposed to get an A. I'm fucking rewarding you for doing your best. You're supposed to do your best. You're supposed to achieve and elevate to the greatest of heights. That's the purpose of doing anything. That's your right. That's your job as a human. And now we have to celebrate No Child Left Behind and all this extra shit. No, we're not celebrating anybody. There are people who are better than you. So it's not hate. And us being critical comes from a genuine place, Kyrie. But he wants to be Captain Saberho. He wants to stand on. I'm going to say, they don't even look at you like that. They don't even look at you like they don't look at you like you one of them ones. They want your skill set. They want your talent. They don't want to put the work in that you put in though. They want the respect that you get, but they don't want to put the work in. They want what they're doing to be enough to be treated the way you treated. They don't know that you had to do extra, that you had to work a little longer, and that you had to endure longer. They don't understand that you have to, it's not even about motivation or energy. It's about constant, consistent effort. They don't have that. They're not obsessed with being great. They think I'm already great. All I have to do is maintain it, or I have to wait for the opportunity. I don't have to outshine the moment. I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is be me, and I'm gonna apply pressure, and that should be enough. And it's never enough. See, the problem is being a professional is one of those things where you have to understand that's your job, and you shouldn't get credit or respected, and you're gonna be neglected doing your job because we're expecting you to continue to perform, and we shouldn't have to look at you and praise you because you're an adult. And that's what adults do when they're considered a professional. You're supposed to work at a high level and set high standards and achieve, and no one's supposed to tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to do it, whether we cheer for you or not, whether the sun is shining or not. You have to perform at a high level. That's why you're hired. See, but to say that we're jealous because they're rich is stupid. That's like saying they got lucky. We're jealous because they got lucky enough to be in the NBA. No, that's definitely not it. We're critical of what we see because it's not the level of competition and greatness that we're used to seeing. And you want us to celebrate you and enjoy, but we're not enjoying the product the same. We're not enjoying it. We're not having as much fun as we used to have. It's not as interesting as it used to be. That's why we're critical, because we're trying to figure out why don't we feel the same? And why do they want to consider like it's just as good as it used to be? No, it don't feel the same. You know what it was back in the day. We're exposed to too much, and now we can't. We bit the apple. Now we got to accept the fact that we know too much. We've seen too much, and we're not going to appreciate unless it just is like audacious or something ridiculous. You know what I mean? But or as you know, Mr. B say, a purple cow. If it's not a purple cow, we're not going to respect it. Then a lot of the NBA is no, there's no purple cow. We've seen everything before. Michael Jordan was the purple cow for the NBA. Larry Bird, Magic. We had a bunch of purple cows in the NBA. Now it's not. It's almost none. LeBron is the last purple cow. After him, it'll be just a regular group of cattle until the next purple cow shows up, and then that'll be the thing we talk about that draws us. You know what I mean? But he can't. For him to say that, that's a Kyrie type thing to say. You know what I mean? But it's lazy. And for someone who wants to be brother polite, who want to speak about the Anunnaki and all this extraterrestrial shit, but when it comes to, you know, conversation that's about something of substance, you lack the layers. And you can't say, well, I'm playing so I understand it. No, apparently you lack an understanding as well. Because it's not as cut and dry as us being jealous of the money, because we can go out and make the same amount of paper. And it'll average out the same. Because remember, this money has to last you the rest of your life. You just getting money up front. You still got 50, 60 years of life, and you got a man, get the fuck on, nigga. Ain't nobody jealous of y'all. Because most of y'all, when y'all get out of the NBA, have no skills. And them big paychecks, when they stop, they stop. You go from getting 4-5 million every 2 weeks to nothing. Now you got to manage that for the rest of your life, and you'll never find another revenue stream that'll enable you to make that same amount of money at that same pace ever again. Everything is going to be slower. All the money slows up. Some of us can't live under that type of pressure. Going from making $30 million a year to now the checks stop and the bills keep coming. Man, shit. 30 for 30. But yeah, it's not as cut and dry as Kyrie made it out. It's ridiculous. Ain't nobody jealous of y'all. You know what I mean? But I can understand the frustration that the elder players may have because they're seeing the opportunities that these kids are letting escape their grasp, that they're gonna wish they took advantage of because they made that same mistake and look at where they are. And the players that are there now may be in a worse space because they're more irresponsible with money. And a lot of y'all like, no, these kids ain't irresponsible. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. And that they're gonna have to figure out what else they're gonna do for the rest of their lives. They've been playing basketball their whole lives, and it's more competitive doing any and everything now than it was before. Those relationships that you banked on, everyone is trying to bank on the same relationships with the same people, and you're hoping, and you're gonna have investments that flop. You're gonna get robbed. It's a lot that man, listen. It's a long life. Jealous of you? No way. But I can see the frustration that older players have, especially those podcasters. I get it. But Kyrie is just caping. Now he always, you know what I mean? Kyrie always want to be the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Always want to cape and be Mr. Opposite. But I get it, Kyrie. You trying to, you know what I mean? You want to be you just trying to get in where you fit in, my brother. The woke one. Kyrie is the woke one, aka wokeonomic. We get it, Deuteronomy. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as that, though. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.